Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us, everyone. This will be our CES 2022 recap. And of course, we're going to be doing this with our correspondent and of course friend from over at Popzara.com. Give that a check out. Herman Exum, and we'll be inviting him on in just a moment. But everyone, before we get started, computeramerica.com. Hopefully in the next day or two, we should have everything CES related up. I have like 14 interviews, a number of articles, and of course this interview as well should be up there to kind of bookend the whole thing. But of course, all that being said, that won't be the end of our CES coverage, because a lot of the companies that did not join us during CES, well, I'm lining them up to join us after CES, and they'll be on the show for in-depth interviews. We already got a number of them, and I'm very happy, that we were able to get who we were able to get. But hey, it's only going to get better. So computeramerica.com will have everything, including links to products, links to our guest website, popzara.com, and links to everything else. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and just jump right into this, because this is going to be a fairly, I feel like this, without some structure, this conversation could probably last a couple of hours, but we're going to try to keep this succinct, but we're also going to have fun with it. So let's go ahead and bring him on. Herman Exum, he of course helped us with our 2019, 2020, 2021 was digital, so we were able to handle that by ourselves, but now 2022 CES coverage. Herman, welcome back onto the program. How you doing?
Good. It's great to be back. It's been a while.
It has, and I think the last time that you and I talked, it might have been at one of the other trade shows like E3 or something like that. But first I got asked, because we talked about this a little bit beforehand, wanted to let everyone know about your trials and tribulations of going there in person. How was your travel? How was your flight? How was your Airbnb? How were your accommodations?
Well, I kept my expectations low simply because, one, it's actually been quite a while since I've physically been to a trade show like CES. Mm-hmm. The last time I went was in 2019. I skipped over the 2021 for a few reasons. One is I was working a lot and I was a little burnt out there, so I assisted the team that did go. And also, the virus, which predicated this pandemic. Where I don't know if we're still going through it or not. It's all up in the air. People are still worried about it. Others aren't. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's another reason I skipped. I just didn't want to be exposed to that.
Right.
And lo and behold, a couple months later, in March 2020. Yeah, everything just shut down. So in retrospect, I think that was the best move for me.
Yeah, I think you definitely did dodge that one. And then, of course, you even had some problems this time around. Your Airbnb, I think, canceled early, and you had a flight cancel on you. I mean, I'm glad that you went, and I'm glad to talk to you about this. But man, you went through hell.
Yeah, to be honest, getting there was the easy part. Just trying to escape Las Vegas it wasn't difficult. It was just, it was tedious. It gave me a little headache, but I did make it out on time.
And I'm glad that did.
And also they cut a day, so I wasn't going to stay in Vegas.
That was very impromptu. Do you recall when they actually did that? Because, I was just minding my own business, and then I think it was like a week beforehand, they were like, oh yeah, the 8th is no longer CES. That was a surprise.
Yeah, if I can recall, it was right before New Year's Eve. So that was a surprise. I was telling my managing editor over at Popzara that the last day historically for CES didn't matter. I guess in this case I was proven right, but it's unfortunate that we did lose a day regardless.
Yeah, because that last day, that was my experience as well. Going to the couple of shows that I did, was that the last day, the higher ups and the people that you really want to talk to all left a day early to kind of beat the traffic, and left behind were the people to pick up, tear down the displays and kind of put away all the product. But I guess with the last day being cut, that whole thing shifts over. So you actually have like 2 good days of shows. But this, of course, leads us into our conversation of how a pandemic era CES kind of was. The show itself, my understanding, there were 50,000 people supposed to be there, 2,300 exhibitors, I think, were supposed to be there, something of that nature.
Yeah, somewhere
compare that to 2020 or 2020, where you had just under 5,000 exhibitors and just under 200,000 people. So half the exhibitors and a quarter of the people. How did that feel, being at that kind of show?
Coming back after a 2-year hiatus from physically being there, it was a little odd at first. I'm not going to lie, the first day I was sort of getting my bearings. I guess you could say this year, like the whole floor setup was kind of a new normal for them. It was kind of a building year, so to speak, for 2022 CES. So there was noticeably less people and a lot more walking space. So all the regular spots, Intel, LG, they were either just, they vanished completely from the show floor, or they transformed their area into something radically less engaging.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a picture specifically of the LG booth, and it was just an empty floor with little monolith things that had QR codes for their products. They didn't have any physical product on the floor. It was literally just an open space.
I'm wondering
with QR codes to scan.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that has more to do with not sending as many personnel because of the travel restrictions and things like that. There's plenty of reasons for that to happen, but as someone trying to report on this stuff and look at it and actually see it to talk about it, did you find yourself kind of veering away from companies that did that? Like it's like, oh, LG displayed stuff, but I didn't get to see it, so I'll talk about something else I did get to see.
Oh yeah. It was. I don't want to say. I was disappointed by it, but I kind of expected something like that to happen. So I didn't spend too much time where the bigger companies just sort of were phantom areas, so to speak, because there's literally nothing to see there. And if you're part of press or media, just if they have a front desk, all you had to do was just go up and ask about the press releases if you didn't get them 2 weeks ahead of time via email.
Gotcha.
It was at best it was streamlined. At worst, it was just kind of desolate.
Yeah.
At least for the bigger booths.
Yeah, and I think that this whole Omicron variant really kind of hit at the worst possible moment for CES. Like they were totally gearing up for a big show, and then Omicron came out in November or whatever it was, and people started to pull out. And honestly, Herman, it felt a little bit like companies could get a little bit of press before CES by declaring that they weren't going to be at CES. So companies that had booths and plans and all this kind of thing, they all said, I guess they got to kind of high road it a little bit and go, we care about our employees and the health of everyone. We're canceling our plans to attend CES in person. So, they didn't get their deposit back, but the companies themselves were kind of no-shows. And, I think a lot of the keynotes were actually canceled as well.
There's a different take with me as well. It kind of seems disingenuous in a way because you already knew that the presence was going to be diminished anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But now there was next to nothing. So
right.
it just gave them an excuse to even just bow out even further.
Right. Well, I'm hoping that next year, really bounces back, assuming we can get a handle on this whole thing. But for this year, let's focus in on what was there and what you did see, trends and, some of the bigger overarching themes, because I have a couple here, but maybe we'll start with maybe your favorite trend. I mean, was it gaming? Was it displays? Was it home automation? What were some of the trends that you enjoyed at CES?
Well, we can't talk about trends unless we include displays, TVs, monitors in there. I mean, from the jump, that's what we have to start with here. And specifically, it was OLED tech. That's been the big buzzword for the past, 4 or 5 years with CES. And I think for 2022. OLED displays will finally be more mainstream, more accessible. I mean, they already are now if you're, in the market for one and you're looking for a previous year model where, the deal's already happening. But I did notice that if we're talking about existing OLED technology, LG is once again leading the pack.
You think?
Because, oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they've had the most consistent lineup out of all the manufacturers. Sony, which ironically enough, LG supplies their OLED panels to Sony. So,
okay,
if you have a Sony OLED TV, you're basically looking at an LG panel anyway. But and that kind of makes sense. But the big thing I wanted to get into is not necessarily the premium flagship models. Mm-hmm. It's the mainstream ones, specifically the G2, the C2, I want to talk about.
Yeah,
because the C2 is going to be the first OLED model that's going to be 42 inches. And the common trend is, and the common trend is always go bigger. But this is actually a welcome addition because one, it allows more people to get their feet in the door, and two, it's taking most, if not all, the features that the C1 had, and it's putting them into a smaller package, which is a win-win for everybody.
But I mean, that's really the way that technology goes, though. Like, you have to pay a premium. You put it in premium products. I mean, it's kind of the Tesla's the one that kind of jumps to my mind. They started with their $100,000 car, and then they eventually got it down into a $35,000 production vehicle. I mean, OLED kind of had to go through the same evolution, but you're saying it's nice that it finally has made that evolution. It's crossed that jump into something that might be under 1,000 and OLED.
Yeah, but the biggest thing here, at least for that C2, is usually when companies start trickling down that tech, they take away features. But with the C2, they're actually keeping in a lot of the things that specifically gamers would like. So it should have 120 hertz, 4K, variable refresh rate and all that,
right?
And it should have NVIDIA G-Sync on it, which has been a selling point if you're a PC gamer and you want to take the action to the living room instead of just at your desktop.
Yeah, and
so
really,
that's a big deal.
Yeah, and of course, all that's kind of being rolled into the 42-inch, but that also goes up all the way up to the 97-inch as well. So you think that they came out with with a good lineup? LG did.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I'm pretty sure the 97-inch will be better in every single way, and there will most likely be some features that. Obviously the 42, and they also have a 48-inch model of this that they won't get, but the ones that people like the features that people like to brag about, they should be there.
Gotcha.
No problem whatsoever.
And another one, if you don't mind, I have the page up right here. It was the Samsung, but this one was a little bit different because it has a lot of the features like you were talking about, mini LED, Neo Q LED, a bunch of words and gibberish, but essentially it was a gaming monitor. A lot of people took pictures of this one. Did you happen to see the game screen by Samsung?
I gleamed over it. My schedule was elsewhere. But yeah, it did look nice. It really did. I wish I had more to say about it, but I don't even know if that's even coming out realistically, because we see a lot of these things and they're proof of concept for the most part. They're saying, essentially, look at what we're capable of doing someday.
Right.
So, I mean, when it comes to that stuff, I'm like, wow, for 5 seconds, and then I move on.
No, that's completely fair. I mean, this thing is essentially 3 monitors stacked on top of each other, and of course, no bezel because it's all one flat curved screen. But it like curves up over you, and that's a very strange way to kind of view a thing. So, I mean, yeah, it got a lot of attention, but I just want to kind of highlight that there were different things. Like, it's not just smaller TV or higher refresh rate. Like, they're, at least covering from here with all the, I tried to catch all the keynotes and I tried to, kind of look over the press releases. Razer and Samsung and Asus, they all had their own take on what I guess kind of gaming displays people wanted. And it was scattered, but I mean, everything was just kind of it was scattered in terms of form and function, but high refresh rate, QLED seems to be the main thing. OLED, if not, I feel like that's becoming the industry standard is OLED and high refresh rate, like 240 to 144.
Oh yeah, and before we move on, we have to mention QD OLED, which basically takes existing OLED or OLED properties and applies a quantum dot filter on top of that for brighter brights and better saturation of colors.
Right.
As you might know, this is a Samsung developed technology. So if we're talking about next gen OLED, Samsung has made a big return. I don't know if you remember this, but I think it was 2013, 2012, or 2014. Where Samsung did make OLED TVs, but the production was so costly and the quality was so poor that they actually had to bow out. And after I think like 5, 6, 7 years, they've returned to the OLED market in a big way. Oddly enough, even though Samsung developed the technology, it's going to be Sony that's going to debut it first in their TV, which is called, off the top of my head here,
Sony's the Bravia.
The Bravia XR A95K, which is a hell of a mouthful. Right. But yeah, they're going to be Sony is going to be the first manufacturer to have a QD OLED ready for consumers this year, which the technology is developed by Samsung, so they source it to them.
Yeah, and of course, there's a lot of letters and quantum dot and OLED and all that kind of thing. Even I'm going to have to kind of brush up on what a lot of these are. In your mind, for anyone out there listening for this upcoming holiday, because this is when we start seeing a lot of these hit the store, is this holiday season. What are some of the standout technologies that you like? Like, are you all on board with OLED at the very least? Is it QD OLED? Is it, what should people really keep in mind when shopping for a new display?
To be honest, even though people and media have hyped up QD OLED, I don't think that's where it's going to be this year. As I said before, I think the normalization of just regular OLED panels is what's going to be the thing. There's mini LED, which is sort of an alternate, like a more affordable alternative to OLED. It's not OLED, but it's just even smaller LEDs inside LED panels. That's probably going to be the next budget-oriented panel display,
right?
Because Sony actually showed off a renewed lineup of mini LED TVs, and TCL, they've been champions of that for the past couple years, so they're continuing with that too. But yeah, I think
What
the
about
new
8K?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't care about 8K. We're just now normalizing 4K, and even then, it's not really a deal breaker for me. I know it is for most people if they're looking at spec sheets at Best Buy, but generally speaking, 4K, like if you want the full effect of 4K, it's still going to be when you're watching movies. It's not for games yet. I mean,
Right.
NVIDIA announced the 3090 Ti graphics card.
No.
At the show.
You have to say it like the rep said, the 3090 Ti. That's how you say it. Hey, he's from NVIDIA. He has to know, right?
He has to know, I guess. But regardless of how you pronounce it, yeah, even that high-end video card, it can't do the full range of 4K with 120 hertz or that. It's just not possible this generation, and we've especially seen that with the Xbox Series consoles and the PlayStation 5.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about, and that's just for 4K, and we're talking about 8K, that's just going to be a novelty for the rich, in my opinion.
8K will not be something you natively display in. Like if you're looking at something that's 8K, don't get me wrong, right. It'll be good, but it'll be upscaled, and it's going to be trickery more so than native 8K.
I mean, we already have 8K TVs out now. Mm-hmm. You probably won't see them at your local Best Buy. They're special order from smaller AV stores. From the old days where you had professional installers and people working for commission to sell that stuff. That's where you're most likely going to find 8K TVs, probably this year and maybe for the next year. But simply put, yeah, we're not there yet. 8K in its current form has to be upscaled in order to take advantage. So there is no native content.
Right.
And it probably won't be for a while.
Yeah, and I totally believe that. But 4K with, I think, NVIDIA G-Sync and stuff like that, with the high refresh rate, honestly, I think I saw a lot of 240s. I think I saw some were in the 300 range. I don't know if it's like 360 or whatever it is.
We're talking about monitors now?
Yes, gaming monitors.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that game monitors are finally getting behind this high refresh rate, because it seems like the refresh rate was the thing that you let slip to get the better brightness, color, color accuracy, that kind of thing. Refresh rate could stay at 120 and everything else could get marginally better, and that's how you kept the price down. I'm glad that refresh rate is finally getting emphasis as well.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. There are monitors coming out now. In fact, I reviewed one about a month ago from ViewSonic, the XG32 320U, which is also a mouthful, but it is a gaming monitor. It's an IPS panel. Yeah. And that's equipped to do maximum 150 hertz. It has 4K as its native resolution, and it has HDMI 2.1. But the catch is you either got to choose between resolution or performance in almost all these cases. Even with a high-end video card, that's just the way it is. So, I mean, I'm glad we're seeing these monitors come out, but now going back to OLED, they're coming out with OLED monitors, which, that's how progress is, but who can afford that? Those monitors that I've seen pitched, and I specifically saw the Alienware AW3423DW and the ViewSonic VP32. Both of those are OLED monitors, but for different purposes. The Alienware is focused towards gaming. By the way, that's also a QD OLED, while the ViewSonic is focused more towards work and content creation for professionals. That is just a regular OLED, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so if we're talking about monitors, like, yeah, for me, it's about smoothness and performance. Like the panel technology is inconsequential to me. I mean, it's nice that they're finally getting there, but one thing at a time, you know?
Yeah. Yep. And I think that was another thing that Intel and NVIDIA and AMD all had their, kind of keynotes, and they all released stuff. Speaking of the hardware to run these things, I mean, as far as personal computing goes, I don't know how closely you followed those. You had NVIDIA come in with the new 3090 Ti, like you said, improves just slightly on the 3090, whereas their 3050 is more budget conscious. I think that was at 250, and it did very, very well. It was supposed to take on one of the AMD cards. It kind of currently slipped my mind. Intel.
Don't worry.
Yeah. They had Intel with their mobile processors. They're supposed to be for laptops and really improve those. I mean, as far as just general computing and, graphics and processor speeds, they're really filling out their lineup, but I feel like we're still waiting for the next great thing when it comes to kind of hardware.
Well, the current market has an existing problem, and that's supply. I know that NVIDIA announced the 3090 Ti. Mm-hmm. To say that, but they have an issue with supply. Like, there are still customers on the waiting list to get their 3080 models. Mm-hmm. Some from when it originally launched back in October 2020. So what they're doing is, to me, it's actually a lot of PC people have complained about this when it was announced last week. They are using the same chips for the 3080 and applying that to the 3090 Ti. So that means supply is even going to be even shorter. Prices are already through the roof. That's not going to go down. That's going to go way, way up even more.
Right. And
the only winner here is not like the PC users, the gamers. It's NVIDIA themselves and their stock price. I'm not the only one saying it. There's been people that have been harsher than I have. I'm just pointing out what's most likely going to happen. But yeah, a lot of PC gamers are pissed off right now.
Yeah, I need to look into that outrage. I know that there has been a lot of initiatives in the past year or so to get new chip manufacturing plants built in a lot of different places outside of Southeast Asia. Those will be years in the making, and whenever they come up, it'll be Herman, like I'm sure, working in the space like I do, I feel like there will never be a time when people say, stop making so many computer chips. We're done. We have enough computers. Like, there will always be a need, but man, the squeeze that's happening right now was, really in full effect at CES as well. Just it feels like the number of products that will come to market is less than it has been in previous years.
Oh yeah, it's not the consumer that's going to win, at least for that segment. Yeah. It's going to be the investors and what money they put into that stock. So right. I can understand. I mean, you can't stop progress, but I don't know. I'm sort of torn on that, especially with like the computing chips like CPUs, GPUs, etc. Mm-hmm. I mean, I expect them to do that. I do like that NVIDIA is eating Intel's lunch right now, but it doesn't really help anything if short supply and high demand like completely destroy that value proposition altogether.
Yeah,
and that's what AMD is. It's usually the value proposition, but they cost more than ever right now. Like, try and get a Ryzen. You can, but you're really going to pay for it. Or a RX Radeon. You're going to be hurt. Your wallet's going to be hurting for sure.
Yeah, there's of course that, and another industry that really hurt. I don't know if you paid attention too much to it, but the next kind of trend thing is car technology. And they had a lot of concept cars, a lot of electric vehicles, a lot of tons of autonomous things. Did you get a chance to go? That's usually held in the Central Hall or the East Hall, one of those two. Did you get any car?
It's going to traditionally the automotive stuff is usually in the North Hall in the main Las Vegas Convention Center, but they just built like the West Wing. So because everything shifted this year, so there was no South Hall this year. They completely just shut that down. So anything that was in the South Hall was occupying the Central Hall, and a lot of engineering tech was in the North Hall this year. So that left automotive for the West Hall, which is pretty new. It's like recently built.
Right.
If you wanted to experience some Tesla tech, they actually did have like a Hyperloop type of deal that connected between the center and the West Halls. That was cool if you're into that. So yeah, if you've never sat in a Tesla before or you've admired them from afar, that was probably your best chance to get in a Tesla. It was only like a 45-second ride, but it should have beat walking 10 minutes from one end of one side of the building to the next.
Right. Was that the one that made headlines when it experienced like a little quote unquote traffic jam? Was that?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
To be fair, when I took a ride, because I took two there and one back, I didn't experience any traffic jams. So for me, it was great. I enjoyed it. I probably still wouldn't buy it. I probably still wouldn't buy a Tesla, but you know, it's cool just to see that. I mean, let's be honest. When you think of Tesla, you like the cars, but it's really the man behind the car, if you know what I mean. You know,
yeah, Elon Musk sure does like to promise a lot, and I think for a lot of people, you know, actually seeing is something that you don't really get to. So being able to experience that, I'm sure, was definitely fun. And you know, just other car technology, real quick. I know that the one that got a lot of attention was the BMW, the white car or SUV. It had e-ink in it, and that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. I did stop by the BMW tent. And I got to see it. I mean, it's basically just a regular, I think, iX, you know, that electric hybrid SUV or whatever. But they just added that e-ink coating to the body, to the paintwork. It looked cool, but you know, I don't see where its practical applications lie. You know, it's BMW. They just like to show off there.
Yeah, and hey, that's but like you said, there are things you will see at CES that you will never see anywhere else, and that color shifting kind of thing. You're right. I mean, let's face it, one grocery cart and your entire panel on your side is going to shatter and break. Like that is not real world feasible, but it was still fairly cool. Yeah. So we saw, you know, that's one way BMW can attract people to their electric car lineup, their BMW i sub-brand. Right. So going back to kind of trends and things like that, we covered gaming, displays. You know, there's, of course, a lot of car technology. Did anything else kind of stand out to you in terms of like what really, not what didn't show up to CES, but what do you think made this CES kind of really exciting for you in terms of like any other fields? Was it healthcare? Was it, you know, anything that you really paid attention to?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of lifestyle health products out there. Too many to count. So I picked out a couple for just to, you know, point them out. First one is the Brondell Pro air purifier, which they say can completely eliminate COVID-19 by 99.9%. Like if you know, it's an air purifier. You put it in your room, it, you know, gets cleans out like the pollution, dander, odd smells and whatnot. But yeah, that was really impressive. I don't know how true that statement is, but they're charging $700 for it, and it's basically industrial grade air purification that's available to the end user. So we'll see about that. I talked to the people at Brondell. They seemed nice enough. They seemed receptive when I said I'd like to possibly review this in the near future. So we'll have to see how that goes. Yeah. But yeah, its range is I think at least 1,200 square feet.
That's pretty big. That is fairly large.
So
I'm surprised you didn't gravitate towards the I think it was the Samsung. Yeah, I think it was Samsung. They had that giant air purifier that was like in the middle of the room, taking up. It looked like a spire. It was like 5 or 6 feet tall.
Yeah,
they had in like their product video. It was huge.
I didn't gravitate towards that because unlike that, I actually got to play and get a demo with physical demo with the Brondell air purifier. So I'm sure it's nice and huge, but if we're talking about cool things that I saw, I have to keep it real. I have to be honest.
Right.
I'm going to talk about things that I actually got a chance to at least.
No, that makes complete sense. And by the way, they correct me in the chat. It's actually LG that had that giant air purifier there. But you're right. Yeah, but you're absolutely right when it comes to kind of technology. I think that air purification and what do you call it, ultraviolet room purification thing. Like, I tried to avoid it mostly because I feel like a lot of people kind of know their solutions out there. Interesting that you found an air purifier that you liked. I mean, keeping COVID at bay was huge at CES as well.
Yeah. And a secondary reason for me liking this, among a couple other things, is because I have asthma. So having an air purifier, I used to own one. I liked it a lot, but those filters can be pretty expensive, and a lot of people, tend to give up. If they own one, they're like, those type of filters. I'll just put it in the shed at the closet. Yeah. But in these times where health and air quality is really important, this will make a lot of sense for a lot of people, especially, if they're really skittish about like COVID-19 or just germs in general.
Right. That was very cool. So other home lifestyle kind of things, okay. So speaking of trends, and one thing that I noticed, I don't know if you picked this up in person, just reading a lot of the product sheets and, kind of what they can do. One example that I really, pointed to as an example, I don't know. Okay. So Herman, so it felt like this was the year that tech companies have been collecting all data that they possibly can for a number of years now. That's pretty obvious. It felt like this year was the year they kind of ripped off the Band-Aid and said, we're tracking everything. Also, look what we can do. And an example of that was, let's see if I can find it here. The name of it is actually the Sengled, Sengled, Smart Health Monitoring Light. And it's a light bulb that uses radar.
What?
It's a smart light bulb that uses radar. It can track how many people are in a room. If you're sleeping well, depends on if you have an elevated heart rate. It can do all of this just by a light bulb in a lamp. Herman, that's just what I felt was, and that's just one example. Companies are collecting data and then they are giving it back to you in the form of cool concepts or information. Did you pick up on that as well, or was that just me?
Oh no, I saw a lot of that. Specifically, I don't want to, that light thing, that's a bit much. I'm not sure how realistic that is.
Well, that was my point.
But
was that if you told people, 5 years ago, here's a light bulb that will track you in your bedroom at all times, they go, holy crap, that is invasive. I don't want that anywhere near my house. Nowadays, it's like, hey, it's the next big, they're saying, hey, it's the next best thing. Go ahead and buy one. Companies are ripping off that and just saying, we're collecting all your data. Look what we can do.
Yeah, I think we're at a point now, at least for most people, where they've made themselves familiar with things like Alexa and Google Assistant or Siri or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it took a few years, you had to do things in baby steps, work from small devices into bigger things or into wide reaching things like your entire house, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
And I just think that a lot of people, they just don't care anymore. I mean, they go out of, a lot of people go out of their way to make their lives very public. So, I mean, what's one light gonna hurt? I mean, there was something similar, just in the form of a wristband called the Movano Smart Ring.
I actually had, let me see, real quick. I actually had them on the show before CES, and I think that's available on our site real quick. Did you like that, or did you find that creepy?
I didn't find that creepy. I just found that to be a little obsessive, because people with Fitbits and everything, when they first get it, they're wide-eyed. They're like, "Oh, this is going to change my whole fitness regimen," or whatever. I mean, especially people who didn't exercise to begin with. They think that if they get the product, their whole lives are going to change, they're going to improve. But realistically, they're probably going to use it for about 2 or 3 weeks and put it back on the shelf and not use it again. So with the Movano, I see something similar, but it's it's tracking heart rate, sleep, and steps and calories and all that, even blood oxygen and breathing.
Yeah,
that's where we're at.
It's collecting all that, and we interviewed them December 21st. That was like one of the last few before we went on our winter break, and we had the CEO, John Mastrotoro, on the program. And I liked about that one was that he was a doctor coming into the tech space, and much like you said, it's just people accept it, and now they get to collect information, hopefully just for themselves and their healthcare provider. But man, technology has gotten good at tracking just about everything. So that was just a trend. I'm glad that you kind of found a few products that also look like that. I doubt once that becomes normal, Herman, I doubt that's going to go away anytime soon. Like, it's just going to get more and more and more.
I'm just saying, for the people that get it, use it briefly, their lives won't change that much. But for the people that actively use it, like they're committed to it, once again, I mean, they're used to it by now. At least most of them are. Like, if you're willing to put on anything like a smart watch or a fitness ring, I mean, you want to know. I mean, that's why you bought the damn thing.
Yeah. There's that. And even to that point, I mean, you could look at some of the new tech. This wasn't shown off at CES, but although there were some things at CES with VR, which we can talk about real quick, but I mean, they're even putting eye tracking sensors, which honestly makes perfect sense in VR headsets, that will count eye movement as another form of input, which, in terms of dystopian technology, holy crap, that ranks very high up there with, Ben didn't look at our advertisement for long enough. We need to make this catchier, and we need to get his attention even more. Like, sensors and everything, and actionable data everywhere they possibly could. So that's my way of transitioning, Herman, over to VR. PlayStation VR 2. You, of course, had, I think, rumors of Apple, even though they didn't show anything, rumors that Apple's going to come out with a VR headset. VR is not as dead as I think Nathan would appreciate it to be. What'd you think about that tech?
When it first came out through Oculus for the mainstream, I was into it. I'm not going to lie. But now, I mean, I don't think it's dying. I don't think it's going to go the way of the dodo. However, I'm just not into it generally. I am glad that Sony is committing to a PSVR 2, is what they're calling it, for the PlayStation 5. So, I mean, it's just going to be, in my opinion, for the masses. I'm trying to think here. Like, it's just going to be a premium novelty for those people. They're going to enjoy it. They're going to like it. That's perfectly fine.
How dare you talk about the metaverse like that? That's not the way Zuckerberg wants us to talk about this.
I think that's how VR or AR or whatever, I think that's how it's going to see mass adoption. I mean, it's like social media as right now. I mean, like, people would rather live their lives on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram than out with real people and doing real things. So, what was that movie? Ready Player One?
Yep. And of course, WALL-E, that one too. Yeah,
I think that's completely plausible. I think that could happen in the near future. Probably not to that level in our lifetimes, but something where there's also a thing called Second Life, I believe, where you have an avatar. So I mean,
that's been for a long time.
It's just going to be, it's just going to be a bigger, more polished version of that for a lot of people. And I have seen, and on the show floor, I did talk to some companies that want to use metaverse and things like that for business applications, virtual meetings, beyond Zoom, what we're doing now. So yeah, it's coming. It's just where do you want to be? Do you want to be left behind, or do you want to, acclimate yourself to it?
Yeah, there's a lot of business incentive to get people into VR because even though they haven't quite figured out the best way to advertise yet, it does get you a lot of that, that glorious, precious, sweet, addictive data. And there's, so many more metrics you can measure using, of course, a smart headset. But there's that one. Another trend that I wanted to kind of point out, Herman, was and this is more of the keynotes with LG, with Samsung, with Sony. This idea of interconnecting everything in your house. So, everyone wants to build out their ecosystem. There's this push to make everything talk to each other regardless of who makes it, which is, honestly, they should have been doing that from the beginning, but I get it. Everyone had to duke it out. But more so, Herman, I wanted to say everything talking to each other, but also smart apps on like televisions for like streaming video games, like gaming hubs, I guess, when it comes to apps. Are you
getting into what I think you're getting to?
You tell me.
I think I know.
What's that?
Are you gonna mention NFTs?
No, I was not going to talk about NFTs. NFTs did make a surprising amount of headway, and I hated every second of it. So thank you for reminding me of that sore point. I can't believe they were doing that.
I'm sorry. Oh man, I think all of us can agree on this. We don't like it.
NFTs are a scam. Like I get it. My childhood was filled with Pokemon movies in theaters that gave you little Pokemon cards that are still worth absolutely nothing as collectibles. I get it. The idea of a collectible item that you don't even have to pay to produce. Oh my God, that sounds amazing. But it's so useless, and I hate all of it. I hate it. Ugh.
Ben, it's only a scam if you don't capitalize and rip everyone else off.
Yeah.
It's only a scam then.
Yeah, I guess. So, not NFTs, but they are working.
Okay,
you totally reminded me, NFT marketplaces are being built into some of these smart TVs. But I was thinking more of like streaming video games. Like, is that something that you enjoyed? Because it seems like a lot of television companies are trying to make it so that you don't have to own a console to play video games on their systems.
Personally, I don't enjoy streaming games like that. A big thing for me is I want what I bought physically at the very least. So I can understand where they're going with that because, a lot of people, you can game almost anywhere nowadays, which, makes sense. Yeah. But I think they're going to go for that. I'm just not into it personally. With all this, like, oh God, I don't know, Disney Plus specifically, they've gone out of their way to, stop selling, Blu-rays of certain movies and whatnot. And I think having a ownership of your media is important as a consumer. I really do. But I do see game streaming becoming a viable option. I'm not sure how popular. I mean, what was that? Look at Google and Stadia.
Yeah.
Are they still alive? Is that platform still alive? Because I've heard Google was going to kill it off, and then
they closed all the first-party studios that Google had started to make video games for it, but it itself is still alive somehow. So it is.
And yes, the Stadia thing is one of many examples of Google's problem. They sometimes stick to products and services. Oftentimes they don't. and that's my biggest fear with like streaming games. Like companies could just cut the cord and just say, oh, we're done putting this on the platform. We're gonna take it out of rotation for something else now. I mean,
right.
It basically worked just like Netflix or Hulu in that regard.
Yeah, there and of course you have the same idea with streaming where, things sold and, moved to different services, which to your point is owning the content that you consume, because then you'll always have it. There was the Razer, and I think it was just a product demo. It wasn't an actual product, but it was essentially a Plex server for your video games that you could purchase, and then you could stream your video games to yourself. So it's not even like a third-party service, but you have all of your video games on this essentially network attached storage, and then you could play them on any device, streamed or just directly accessed. That was a Razer product, wasn't it?
No, that's Alienware actually. They call it the Concept Nix. It's spelled NYX. Yeah, that was Alienware actually. I mean, don't feel bad. I mean, it's still colored up like a freaking rainbow. So
yeah, I was about to say the RGB threw me. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what you're talking about. I took a look at that, and that might be viable for me. I like the server thing. If it's your own personal server,
yes,
then that's when I like it.
It was certainly different, and of course, Alienware. I think
I kind of hope that comes to market. Actually, that'd be nice to have.
Yeah. Again, in my mind, it just seems like a Plex server, which a Plex server has been around for quite a while, but I don't think too many people got behind the idea of just having a dedicated network attached storage with its own operating system that you can access anywhere. It's struggling valiantly against just whatever streamed on Spotify and Netflix. It's a hard sell. To
be honest, I kind of do that with my. I have a NAS server, nothing major, and I install games to that and play games that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it would just be nice to have something that
more dedicated. Yeah,
more dedicated. I'm on board with that for sure.
Yep. Perfect. So let's see. There's that, and looking over my notes to see. I think accessibility was a huge, kind of thing with a lot of keynotes and a lot of products out there. There was products to help blind people. There was product to help with mobility. There were products, to kind of help with every stage of life from, especially the main, the big companies that did the keynotes. But I even saw, kind of wearable robots and like my Cam, I think was a. Let's see, I have it right here. The Orcam My Eye Pro, which is a little OCR reader that can, kind of read things for you and adjust your vision as well. Accessibility was big, and that was good to see. It seems like a lot of companies are getting behind the idea that, that's one thing technology does very well is shore up people's shortcomings.
I did see like something at the Eureka Hall, which is, for startups and international small companies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was this Japanese company. I forget the name of it, and I'm sorry for this, but they actually had like, those exoskeleton legs.
Yeah. And
they were, walking around the hall with those. And they want to put that into production for industrial workplaces, So it reduces fatigue and possibly, can eliminate injury through, like overlifting,
proper posture,
and things
lifting.
Like that. Yeah, definitely. I wish I don't know the name of the company. If I had time, I'd go. But it is Japanese, and they are bringing that to industrial spaces. They want to.
Yeah.
It seems like accessibility. I've seen that.
Yeah, and I think I might have found it here. Let's see. Was this Las Vegas life-size child? Pediaroid, but I don't think that was it. It was something different. Anyways, I even saw some of the AI was something that we didn't talk about. That was everywhere, to be expected. But there were like AI digital assistants and kind of fake assistance and things like that. I mean, it had a lot of things that this CES overall, Herman, had a lot of things that I expected. Did anything surprise you? Because it's hard for me to think about something that was like, wow, I can't believe they did that. Yeah.
Anything that surprised me? Well, it's the first time I've physically been back to one. But, there is one, I wouldn't say it surprised me, but I have my thumbs up for it, and it goes back to cars. So there's this company called Benfast, a Vietnamese EV car manufacturer.
Yeah.
They are getting ready to enter the U.S. market, and they've been really bullish. Like, I've gotten a bunch of emails from them over the past week. So they're going to be an obvious competitor to Tesla, but they're going to be actually affordable and stylish vehicles. So, I invest. Fast? Yeah, VIN Fast. And their cars look pretty sharp. They really did. But, the issue I have with electric vehicles is range. Like, I live in the Midwest, so there's a lot of open space and a lot of road to travel. And for me, in my area, EVs don't make a lot of sense unless it's like a second car and you live close to to charging points. So, VinFast said that the range is supposed to be between 30 to 40% better compared to Tesla vehicles. So, and they're going to be relatively affordable. I think their big one, their mass market one's going to be between 42 to 55,000 or something like that.
I think those are Euro prices. It's $41,000 to $61,000. Yeah.
Yeah. But compared to like Tesla, and prices are coming down on Teslas. I mean, there's no doubt about that, but it's that depreciation. I'd like to avoid as much depreciation if I buy a vehicle as much as possible.
Right. I
do like VinFast. I really do.
Yeah. Kudos to all these companies, but I think that's one in particular where you're seeing companies trying to make it as sexy as they can, but in reality, that's policy driving, kind of innovation where, California is going to ban the sale of combustion engine cars by 2030. European Union is going to not sell any more combustion cars by 2040 or something like that. And some countries doing it even sooner. Car companies have to do this, or else they can't sell their cars. So they're trying to make them look good, and that's why we saw electric cars from every major car manufacturer. And you're right, I'm glad to see things like VinFast. There was another one that I glossed over a little bit ago that had like solar panels on the hood of the car as well. Electric cars were big at CES, and that was cool.
Yeah, my opinion on electric cars is this. I know they're really ambitious about trying to normalize and standardize EVs, but I live in a place called reality, and in reality, things don't happen that fast. It's not, for me, I don't think it's feasible. Oh God, I think some of the world governments signed a pledge to ban or eliminate, gasoline powered or ICE powered vehicles, and there are a couple of auto manufacturers that didn't sign that thing, specifically BMW and Toyota. And those companies, they've been in the car business for a long time. So if they're not signing that pledge to eliminate gas-powered cars, I don't see how governments are able to pull that off, because governments just don't do things efficiently. They're really fucking terrible at it, and you know this. They really are.
Yeah. Well,
but I will say that at least when I looked at the VinFast vehicles and talked to some of the PR there, but you got to take PR with a grain of salt as well. But yeah, that seems to be the next step. It's going to be a baby step for sure. But if they can get these cars brand new with more range and relatively more affordability, then it might be a viable option. So
yeah,
that's my take on it.
Yeah, and of course, there was an article, and this is getting a little bit off topic, but there was an article the other day about the government mandating kill switches into cars so that, they could shut your car off whenever. And like, this article was a horribly penned opinion piece that, they were talking about, oh, this is an infringement on your freedom and, illegal search and seizure. Like, the government will be able to shut your car off anytime they want. And I'm like, the government can already shut your car off anytime they want. They have guns and they have other cars that can hit your car. Like, I think people get scared about technology when it comes to so many different things. And again, this is very off topic, but people get scared about technology, but then they forget that, Herman, it's like when people were talking about smart locks to begin with, they were like, oh, what if a hacker breaks into your door lock? And it's like, yeah, but what about the robber that just picks up a rock and smashes your window? Like, there's feasibility about, what can happen and what will happen. And I think sometimes people forget that about technology.
I am not immediately concerned about any type of kill switch controlled by like government for your vehicle. I'd be more concerned about infrastructure as a whole. You remember last year when we had that deep freeze
in Texas?
Remember when Texas
Absolutely.
lost power? Yeah, remember when Texas lost power? And Texas is supposed to be the shining beacon for energy infrastructure. If they failed, what hope do we have for everyone being in an EV, whether you want to or not?
Yeah,
like just mass adoption, man. Yeah. I swear, I genuinely believe that EVs, they'll play a significant role, but I don't see them replacing traditional gasoline powered cars anytime soon, not within our lifetimes. I'm just being honest. I don't see it happening. There has to be a radical change and improvement in America's energy infrastructure. And what about the rest of the world? Well, I didn't even talk about the rest of the world. That's just a whole can of worms altogether. For sure.
One company that I did interview during CES was this company called Nanotech Energy, who makes non-flammable organolyte batteries, which are essentially batteries that don't have all the explosive properties of lithium-ion batteries, because they kind of blend in not carbon nanotubes. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on it. They mix in graphene into the battery so they don't explode. Honestly, you need something like that to make them more feasible.
Yeah, you need something. I personally think of hydrogen when it comes to alternative energies. I really, that's the horse I've bet on.
Yeah, and hey, that is a step in the right direction. We saw those running at the 2021 Summer Olympics, whatever it was. They definitely had a use case. So there's that. Okay, let's pull back a little bit. I think we were talking about trends. I think that's looking at my notes, Herman. I don't know about yours, but there were some things talking about extending product life cycles. So I'm sure that's also mandated, but a lot of companies are looking to make sure that the products they put out today will still be used in 10 years. I liked hearing a lot of at least lip service when it came to topics like that. That was nice to hear. I talked about data, talked about ecosystems of devices, accessibility, gaming. What other trends, if any, did you see out there that you took note of?
Talked about AI and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Vehicles. The show was the presence of the show was just so diminished that really had to look for things. But generally, I think we covered the majority of things that were at least the most talked about and popular at the show. And you had a favorite product that you wanted to talk about, or briefly, or just a shout out?
And so, kind of looking here at all the different products that we kind of interviewed, did you get a chance to check out? And this was probably not my favorite or best in show or anything like that, but Showcase PCs. They had a little, kind of rotating LED fixture that could display an image, inside a PC case and on top of a PC case to make it look like a hologram kind of thing happening inside your.
Oh, yeah, I did see some stuff like that.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Let's see. These are all they call them hologram PCs, and they had demonstrations of what they look like and all that good stuff. As soon as the video loads up here, I guess the biggest one was like the Orca coming up out of the PC. That was pretty cool, and I think it was still fairly popular, but that was from a little startup.
Yeah. I'm not too big into PC customization on that level, but there is a market for that. I know a lot of my friends, they like to show off their PC, like, you do like with a low rider car or something like that.
Right.
So there's definitely a space for that.
Yeah. So I actually do have a best in show, or like my favorite product, and I don't know if you saw it. It was a startup called Pentaform. This was a UK product, but they're planning to send it out everywhere. It had the nice mix of good design mixed with eco-friendly initiatives, and it helps a lot of people. This was a €99, but I think it came out to like $139 PC, and it was this kind of all-in-one keyboard kind of thing. And let's see, here's the product. I want a better image of it. Here it is. So it's made with recycled plastics. It's biodegradable. Once you take the chip, the main chip out of it, it's all biodegradable, so it won't increase e-waste. It was very affordable at like $100, and it's made for third world countries, Africa, parts of the like Philippines and places like that. And the two gentlemen that I talked to were very minded, because they're from, I think they were from Indonesia, and they saw the problem that they had with people getting access to good technology, and they wanted to fix that. So I really like talking to the gentleman over at Pentaform. That was really nice to see.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sure that you can kind of see it here, but this keyboard thing and this device over here on the left of the keyboard actually slides out and can connect directly via HDMI or USB or whatever to any display, and then you can take the keyboard anywhere else and type on it and work with it. It was really good to see. That was my favorite.
So it's like a modular thing?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
So
yeah, I normally don't associate computing with sustainability. So that's a nice change of pace. I can see that working, actually.
Yep, and again, it's not something like for you and me, because the specs here, that they have them all here. A fairly weak processor with that just barely hits 1.8 gigahertz, but it's enough to use a monitor. It's enough to go on the internet. It's enough to get people using a computer, because I think they were saying something like only 20% of households even have a computer in places like Indonesia, Philippines, Africa, what have you. So this was definitely cool to see. Okay, so that was my favorite. Did you have a favorite?
I can't speak for those countries, but I can see that being very popular, at least here in North America.
Yeah,
with this work from home initiatives and people trying to do the same type of work, but now they have to. Energy costs are up for a lot of people, especially right now, and whatever you want to call this, a recession or whatever. This is, I like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was very efficient, all that good stuff. But your turn.
Okay, I have two, and I'm going to go through both of these really, really fast. One is another TV. It's an OLED, but it's made by Skyworth, a Hong Kong company that's been in the business since the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
They're just now entering the North American market. In fact, they released some entry-level OLEDs back in October, I believe. But they had a transformable TV. In their words, they say it's the first consumer transformable TV, even though if you look at LG, they have their R9 rollable one.
Yeah.
But this is a flat OLED panel, but it can transform to be curved. They're going to sell it. They're going to sell it this year, and they say that they want to bring it to the North American market a few months after it releases in Asia.
So it could be flat, but it can sell. But then I'm assuming with the push of a button, it can then curve itself to your pleasure. Like that's the selling point. Okay.
Oh yeah, they showed it to me. In fact, the model is called the W82. So if you want to look up Skyworth W82, you'll find it pretty quick. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when they showed it to me, it did make sense depending on what you're using it for. Because, back in the day, Samsung and LG came out with the curved TVs. I didn't like them because, I didn't understand the form factor. Yeah. But it makes sense if you have bad eyes and you need to see more of the image without having to turn your head if you have a bad neck or something. So I thought that was pretty neat. And they say it's coming this year, so it'll be the first transformable consumer OLED TV. And I want to talk about iPetWare, which is basically a smart collar for your pet. So
I already know which one you're going to talk about.
Yeah. I wanted to bring this up because I'm not a pet owner, but I know I have a bunch of friends that are. And I think this would help them greatly because they are either absent-minded or just simply neglectful when it comes to their pet, especially if they get out of the house and are lost. Mm-hmm. I don't know why a company didn't come out with something like this earlier. Just makes sense.
Well, so we actually interviewed these guys. I interviewed the CEO of the company on Thursday, I think. And this is a little bit more than that because they already had Bluetooth trackers that and they had their own network that if it pinged any other Bluetooth device, it could tell you where your dog is and things like that. They had GPS collars and things. This one is like they've had stuff like this before. This though, Herman, they track. Remember how I said they're tracking all the information about you and they just stopped caring about hiding it. They track your dog's movement, your cat's sleeping habits. They track food intake. They track walking, sleeping, energy levels. They track whereabouts. They track every possible thing. And then they roll it into a nice little AI algorithm and kind of say that, hey, your dog hasn't been feeling well for the past 3 days. Maybe it's time to take it to the vet. That's where Invoxia is really coming with their smart pet collar.
And that's why I like it because you have a lot of pet owners. I think it's increased like double digits throughout this pandemic, where people couldn't go out and meet each other. However, I think a number of those pet owners probably shouldn't be pet owners, if you know what I mean.
Right.
I think some of them haven't had the experience or just clues to the condition of their dog or cat. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, so they usually wait until the worst possible moment when their dog or cat isn't feeling well to take them to the vet. And I think a product like that would help immensely. Yeah, because I'm just a guy who's not a pet owner. If I dislike a pet owner, it's because they are so unaware of the condition of their animal.
Right.
And that just irks me. It really does. Either be a good pet owner or don't own a pet. And I think something like this bridges the gap quite well.
Yeah, there's a large gap between I think people that really know how to take care of a pet and those that own a pet. And of course, with something like this, I think it kind of takes away some of the guesswork. Although to be fair, I didn't own a cat for a while. Now I own a cat again. It's pretty easy to kind of forget that cats sleep 16 to 18 hours a day. And, you're not really present for a lot of that. So that's another one of their selling points is that, it's tracking your pet 24/7 so that even if you don't look at it 24/7, what your pet is doing or, if there are habits or trends or illnesses and things like that. So it's actually pretty funny that you picked up on this, this one as well, because we had them on the show. So I like that one too, and that one was close. That one will be a top tech award, just not my favorite in the whole show, but that was good.
Yeah. As I said, it just caught my attention. So I just think it's going to help a lot of people.
I think it will, and that's that's really where technology shines, is when it takes existing technology and applies it to a new area, and has great benefit. So with that being said, one more point, and then I'll go ahead and let you go, because this one's already heading into an hour and a half range. How was Pepcom and Showstoppers?
They were okay. It was great to be back. The type of, it seems that the number of companies was still the same, but the type of companies were different. So a lot of them were talking about metaverse stuff and just sort of software like products. So I did see some stuff that caught my eye. I mean, there was TP-Link. They have a Wi-Fi 6E router, which, by the way, probably not a big secret, but yeah, I think this generation we've reached the peak of Wi-Fi speeds with these generational things for now. So it was just neat to be there. I was just trying to get my bearings back, just trying to get back into the groove again.
Right.
And that helped, because those little media shindigs are a nice way to just readjust yourself and just get acquainted again. It is what it is.
Yep. I would say that this CES was a good dry run. I know that, I'm going to do my damnedest, assuming coronavirus doesn't do its thing. I will meet you at the next one in 2023. That's, and I'm looking forward to it. You should definitely come back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think, I think 2023 will be another transition year, like another build-up year. So it shouldn't be too daunting compared to pre-COVID shows. So yeah, it's just a nice way to get your feet wet again if you're a little rusty.
I'm hoping that before 2023 we don't have like some kind of omega virus that's just going to take everyone out. Like as long as that doesn't happen, I'm going to be at 2023.
I don't like to say this publicly or out loud, but I'm not worried about this damn virus. I'm really not. I haven't been worried about it since June or July 2020, when I think I got it and I felt like crap. Just like, oh, that's it. I know it's not like that for some people, but the fact of the matter is we as the public have to learn to live with this. It's not going away. You can either hide in the corner of your room or learn to live life again. That's just my opinion.
There's something in human psychology. It's something like something fatigue, where like you worry about it, but I mean, it's just human nature. You normalize it and you say, it's just what we have to live with. It is what it is. Like, it was scary at first, but now you adjust, and it's some kind of fatigue. I forgot what it is, but hey, a lot of people are out there dealing with it. Stay safe out there. And you did a lot of traveling. I hope that you stayed safe and you made it home perfectly well. And Herman, I think on that note, is there anything else about CES 2022 that we didn't cover? I think overall the show was, the show was good on my end, because I stayed home in my pajamas and just talked about it all day. There were some interesting companies. I think overall, we're not moving to an Apple type system where every company has their own press event, but I will say that I think a lot of them were more than willing to kind of announce things beforehand and then kind of say, check it out at CES. But, they didn't wait for CES to show off a lot of what was shown off at CES. So CES wasn't as surprising, but it was still good.
Yeah, I look at it like this. I haven't been there in a couple years, so just nice to be back and get my footing again.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm sure being able to talk to a number of people out there was very nice. So tomorrow, everyone, we should have this podcast up Tuesday, January 11th, in case it's time shifted or I fall behind. I'll be doing, I should be appearing as a guest on Popzara's podcast, talking about a lot of a lot of similar things, but of course it's with Nathan and you and myself, and hey, we're gonna have fun with it. And I'm sure just having Nathan there to kind of guide us and talk us through this, I mean, it's going to be a whole different experience. So I'm really looking forward to that. Everyone, popzara.com.
To say the least, for sure. But yeah, it was nice talking to you again, Ben. I hope we can do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks again.
Great. Cool. See you soon.
Absolutely. So everyone, that we're going to wrap that up there. Thank you for tuning in. Computer America, computeramerica.com. Everyone, we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.